Hello and welcome back to Democracy, everybody. Welcome back to Helldivers 2, where we're going to be ranking all of the shotgun primary weapons in Helldivers versus each of the three factions, the bugs, the bots, and the squids. As well as I'm going to be going over what I usually run in the customization. Keep in mind I don't have everything maxed out. I don't actually have any of the shotguns maxed out, but most of them don't really need stuff, and some of them really don't change anyway. Like, most of the Punisher family really doesn't change. So first up, let's start out with the Punisher. The Punisher is the starting shotgun. You can actually get it in the first part of the first war bond, and I've always liked this gun. I feel like it's a little bit underrated by the community, where this one is actually pretty solid. This is a pump action shotgun, holds 16 rounds, does 405 damage per shot, meaning that it has the second highest damage out of any of the shotguns, not counting the full-size double barrel, but that's a special weapon. Light armor pen, and you can reload this one round at a time. This one is pretty solid on bug missions. It's actually really good early on, so I would say this one's probably an A tier against the bugs, B tier against the bots, and an A tier against the squids. This can one-shot any of the voteless, which is pretty cool. It can bully oppressors on the squid front. Bot front, this one is a little bit awkward. Light armor pen in general is a little bit awkward, I find, against the bots, especially shotgun light armor pen. With other weapons like the marksman's rifles, it's not that big of a deal since you can at least aim for weak spots. You can kind of do that with the shotguns too, and if you're at fairly close-ish range, you're going to get pretty good spread on them. At longer range, it becomes more difficult. This can one-shot any of the small bots, which is nice, just with like body taps. Usually you're just going center of mass with this thing, and like specifically against the bugs, this one's really good. It also has a lot of stagger too, so if you're not outright killing something and you're not hitting armor, then you're probably going to knock it back and it can't immediately rush you either. I like this one probably the best against the bugs personally, because you can just one hit so many of the bugs, and it is pretty good for just flicking and shooting. For customizations for the Punisher though, there's not a whole lot to really talk about. In terms of sights, the only one that's really going to affect anything is like the iron sights, and I would recommend you run that one simply because that gives you better ergonomics. But if you like any of the other sights, run those. Sights are kind of your choice, whatever you like, just pick that one. And then for a muzzle, I actually found no attachment to be kind of the best with the Punisher. Generally, you get pretty good spread even out to long range with it, and when I tried putting like the full choke on this, it was just awkward for me. It basically felt like the Slugger, but if I had light armor pen with slightly more damage, and I don't really want that, I would just rather run the Slugger since I get medium armor pen then. So I found that it was just kind of awkward, and I found that I was missing shots whenever enemies would get up close, which is particularly awkward against the squids and the bugs since they rush you so often. So I found like just no muzzle attachment was kind of the best. Half choke I was okay with, because at least it made it so longer range shots were more efficient, but the Punisher can actually shoot out to fairly long range and do quite a bit of damage anyway, even without any sort of attachments. I haven't tried the duckbill on this, but honestly I don't really like the duckbill in general. Up next we've got the Slugger, and this one is pretty good too. This one is just the Punisher, but it's loaded with slugs. It does 280 damage, has medium armor pen, it's also one reload round at a time, holds 16 rounds. You get this one in the free war bond, and it's really good. Against the bugs and the squids, I would say this one's A tier, and against the bots, I would say this one is S tier. The Slugger is honestly pretty good, and it's kind of gotten better recently, thanks to like the burrowing bugs, particularly the burrowing warriors, since this can one-shot them, which is really nice. Medium armor pen is really good. Against the other bugs, this one is still pretty good too. You can hit like the warriors, you can hit the guards. You can kill all the small bugs pretty easily with this too. It's not as forgiving as the Punisher, since the Punisher has a bit more spread, so it's a little bit easier to hit enemies at closer range. This one does also have travel time as well, so you do have to kind of aim in front of something at least far distances. On the bot front, this one's fantastic. It's pretty much the same as like the Dominator, except for this one is a pump action and you can reload it one round at a time, as opposed to the Dominator, which is basically the same type of gun, but it's semi-auto and you have a magazine reload. You could make an argument for either of those being better than one another. I would say the Dominator is a little bit better, at least on the bot front, just because sometimes it is kind of nice to follow up with rapid shots. But this one is still pretty good. You can one-hit any of the medium bots. You can kill any of the small bots with this, and that's kind of the main thing that you're going to be mostly fighting, and then you probably want something for anti-tank for killing the rest of the bots. And then on the squid front, the Slugger's also pretty good. It's okay for hitting the voteless. It's mostly really good for killing the overseers if you hit him in the head. It can be a little bit awkward to do just because of the travel time, and I do find weapons like the lever action to kind of be a better option for that same role, since they at least have a faster moving bullet. But the Slugger can definitely put up quite a fight there too. Not really the best against the flesh mobs. Like, the Punisher is definitely better in that role for fighting those, but it's still okay. And against really any of the Illuminate, you can hurt them, since medium armor pen just works on them. So even if you want to like hit harvesters with this, you can. Oh, and then for customization for the Slugger, I would say don't change anything about it. It already has arguably the best sight on it with the 1.5 times tube. You could put iron sights on this if you want the better ergonomics, but aside from that, it's just sights. You can't change anything else, so just pick whichever one you like the most. Next up is the SG-20 Halt. This one's a pretty cool shotgun. I do like this one quite a bit. This one has light and medium armor pen, but this one has distinctly 2 different tubes, whereas all the Punishers technically have 2 tubes, but they always have the same ammo loaded into them. This one has 1 tube that is strictly flechettes and 1 tube that is strictly flashbangs. So the damage from the flechettes is 385, which is quite good, and it does have medium armor pen on it, and it does have pretty long range as well as pretty tight spread. That does make it pretty strong against most enemies. For an overall rating for the Halt, I would say it's S tier against bugs, A tier against bots, and A tier against squids. It is really good. You could argue it to S tier 2 against the bots because it is very nice. I find that the Slugger's a little bit more consistent for hitting the medium bots, which is why I would knock this one a little bit lower, but it's still really good. Flashbangs are really good with this, especially if you have teammates nearby, because you can stun so many things with this. Like, you can flashbang a charger and stop it just cold and then just walk to the side of it and hit it with the flechettes. That's really cool. You could also flashbang like stalkers. It's really good at flashbanging stalkers. That way they can't really charge you and you can take them out really easily. Flechettes do hurt pretty much all of the bugs. You do only have 8 shots in this one though, effectively, since you're only working with the 1 tube. And you do have to micromanage this by switching back and forth between the flashbangs and the flechettes, which can be sometimes a little bit of a rough deal. Depends on how you really like to use this one. You might just want to primarily use it in one way, especially if you have a bunch of friends around. Maybe just keep it on the flashbangs and then swap to the flechettes every once in a while, or vice versa. Against the bots, this one's pretty good too. It can kill all the small bots and it can kill the medium bots fairly fast. Kills them faster than a lot of the other shotguns do, so that's nice. And then against the squids, this one's also pretty good. You can flashbang like the flesh mob so long as they're not enraged. Then it will stun lock them, and then they're pretty easy to take out. This weapon is still okay at taking them out. It's very similar to like the Punisher, maybe not as fast to kill them as the Punisher, but it's a lot safer than the Punisher. And you can like flashbang the Overseers, which is really nice too, as well as you can kill them fairly fast. And then for customizations for the Halt, once again, I'd recommend that you don't really change anything about it, or you change it over to one of the other sites that you really like. Then we have the SG-451 Cookout. This is the Dragon's Breath Punisher, which is really good. This one is very, very strong against the bugs and against the squids. And for an overall rating, I would say this one's S tier for both bugs and squids, and then probably like C tier versus the bots. I find it pretty awkward against the bots because the fire doesn't help as much as you might think. It's pretty decent against the small bots, but the regular Punisher is too. And it's also really good against like Berserkers, but so is the regular Punisher too. So like, it still kind of fills the same role. It's not way great against the medium enemies. It can still burn them, and the damage over time is not bad. But I would much rather have like the Halt or the Slugger to fight the bots with this one, which is why I would say it's lower. Against the bugs and squids though, this one is really strong. It has knockback on it, which is fantastic, especially when you're burning things, and it goes a lot further than like the Incendiary Breaker. I find the Incendiary Breaker to be pretty awkward compared to like the Cookout. I like this one a whole lot more, just because it gives me a whole lot more utility. Like this one can still one-shot stalkers if you hit them in the face. That's really cool. You can one-shot pretty much all the small and medium bugs. To some extent, I think the guards are about the only ones that you really can't. And you gotta, like, kind of go to the side or shoot underneath them since they have the armored front part. But other than that, you're pretty good to go. Like, you can one-shot warriors, you can one-shot any of the small bugs. It's pretty decent at fighting the big bugs, too. Like, this isn't even that bad against, like, chargers. It's not going to kill them super quick, and I think the Halt is a little bit better in that role. But it is very, very nice for the crowd control, and it doesn't really run through ammo super quickly either, which is great. Mostly thinking about like the Incendiary Breaker, that's a little bit awkward. Against the squids, also really good. This one's really good for flesh mobs. It's really good for the voteless hordes, and it's decent enough for taking out like the Overseer, since the burn over time is good. It's not going to do a whole lot to like the Harvesters. They don't really care about this, and that way the Halt or the Slugger would be better. But this one is still pretty solid for fighting off most of the swarms that you're going to be fighting there too. And once again, for customizations, iron sights are probably the best on this one, but really anything, pick whatever you'd like here. This one's very similar to the Punisher. And then we have the M90A shotgun, the Halo shotgun. And this one's pretty cool. I do like this one. This one has 605 damage, the most damage out of any of the shotguns per shot, even more than the double barrel. That's a special weapon. This one does only hold 6 rounds though, which does make it kind of awkward, and it doesn't hold the most extra rounds. This one also only has light armor pen, and it is a round reload the same way the Punisher has been, the same way all the shotguns have been so far. For an overall rating for the Halo shotgun, I would say this one's probably A tier against the bugs, and B tier versus the squids and the bots. I find this one actually pretty decent against the bugs because it does one-shot so many of the bugs. It hits pretty hard, and that is really nice. And there's usually enough time to be running away from the bugs for you to get the round reloads off and then just be picking off the small ones. And you don't really need to be all that accurate. Only a couple of pellets from this need to actually hit where you're aiming. So that's really good. Against the bots, this one is surprisingly decent too. Like, this one can one-shot berserkers surprisingly well if they start rushing you. Can kill all the small bots pretty well. It's okay against the other medium bots. It's not the best against them because it's kind of hard to get like a pellet spread to actually hit them in the head. And against the squids, this one's pretty decent too. You can kill the overseers pretty fast with this. It does one-hit the voteless. I find it to be a little bit more awkward than like the Punisher though against the squids, because the Punisher also one-hits the voteless and also kills the overseers in about the same amount of shots. So I'd rather just have that since I get more overall ammo and I get 16 rounds in the gun as opposed to the just 6 in this shotgun. Now let's move on to the breakers. These are the semi-automatic shotguns and we have 3 of these. First up, we have just the standard breaker, the SG-225 breaker. This one does 330 damage, which is pretty good, holds 16 rounds by default, and it doesn't have too much recoil. It also has light armor pen. This one's okay. I've never been a huge fan of the breaker, even when like I started playing this game at the very start when it first came out, and people were saying that the breaker was way better than the Punisher. I didn't really feel that way. I felt like the Punisher was just better overall for the same type of role that I wanted a shotgun for. Like, yeah, this one's better for spamming at enemies, but I usually want to hit something and actually kill it, not really just spam into a crowd. The breaker is still okay though. It's by no means a bad weapon. For an overall rating, I would say this one's B tier against the bugs and the bots, and A tier against the squids. I do like this one more against the squids since it helps me clear up like the flesh mobs and the voteless swarms a lot better. Against bugs, this one's still really good for the small bugs. It's pretty decent for the medium bugs, but I don't like that it doesn't have the stagger like the Punisher does. I find that one to just be a whole lot better, or like the Cookout, since that one also has the fire on it. It's not bad though. The spam is pretty decent from it. Bots, it's kind of the same way. Spamming down the medium bots is okay. Killing the light bots is, whatever, and it doesn't really do much to the heavy bots. The main place that this one shines is against the squids. Again, the voteless swarms and the flesh mobs. I think it's pretty good. Against overseers, it's still not bad. It also has a decent amount of customization. However, I find that most of the regular things on it are pretty decent. Silver optics, once again, I'd recommend the iron sights just because it gives you the best ergonomics, which do actually kind of help out the breaker, but any of them are fine depending on what you'd like. For an underbarrel, I like going with the vertical foregrip. That way it's kind of easier to manage the recoil, but if you want better ergonomics, again, you can go with the angled foregrip. I don't think that's necessary with this weapon. For a muzzle, I do like the half choke on this one. The full choke seems like a little bit much again. It seems a little bit like kind of too accurate, and I don't really like that with the light pen shotguns. I kind of want that more with the medium pen shotguns. So usually the half choke kind of cuts it down so it doesn't have as much spread to it, but it's got still a decent amount. And then for a magazine, I found that the extended mag has been the one that I like the most, but that one really feels like it's personal choice. The short mags with like siege ready armor are pretty cool. You get a lot of them and you can actually reload it pretty fast. Drum mag is okay too. I've played around with friends that have had the drum mag on theirs, and it feels fine if you just want to be spamming it at stuff. Then yeah, sure, go for it. Then we have the Breaker Spray and Pray. This one is also in the free war bond, and this one is kind of interesting. This one is a weaker shotgun. This is actually the weakest shotgun per shot, but you do get like the most ammo with it, so you can spam it out the most. And the way this one comes, I really don't like it with like the drum mag and with the duck bill. Once you modify it, though, I do like it a whole lot more. I think that it gets a whole lot better. For rating for the Spray and Pray, I would say this one's probably like A tier against the bugs and the squids, and then C tier against the bots. This one I find pretty awkward against the bots. I don't like it that much. It doesn't do that much damage, and it's not way great against the medium bots. This one does feel like it's more of a spammy weapon. You just want to be using it at like kind of close and medium-ish range, and then just pretty much dumping the entire magazine into whatever's nearby. Against the squids, this one's pretty decent towards like the flesh mobs because you can just spam it into them and hit so many of their heads with it, so that's actually really nice. And it's pretty good against like the voteless swarm. It doesn't do very well against like the overseers. Like, you can spam them down the same way you can anything else. For customizations, once again, I think the iron sights would probably go best with this one. I like the reflex though on here. The reflex that it starts out with is actually pretty good for this type of weapon, because sometimes I will be ADSing with it, but a lot of the time I'm just going to be like kind of hip firing this. Then for an underbarrel attachment, I like the vertical grip once again. It keeps it pretty on target, makes it more spammy. If you want more ergonomics though, the angled foregrip also works. For a muzzle, once again, I think the half choke is the best. I really hate the duck bill that this one starts out with, but at least you can take it off and put no choke on there. That one is a bit better, because again, the spread pattern is just super awkward. Like, it's okay at killing bugs and it's okay at killing the shriekers, but it's just so awkward for fighting everything else. Half choke, I think it has just enough spread for me to where I can still use it pretty well at the distances that I want to use it. Full choke, once again, it gets a little bit too much. Then for magazines, the drum mag is fine, but I really like the short mags with this. The short mags are actually pretty cool. You get 13 rounds in the magazine, and if you run Siege Ready Armor, you get 20 total mags, and it's really fast to reload, so that feels really good. And then our very last shotgun is the Incendiary Breaker. This one used to be arguably one of the best weapons in the game, at least for bugs. It did get nerfed a while back, but it's still pretty strong. For the Incendiary Breaker, I'd say this one's A tier versus the bugs, C tier versus the bots, and then B tier versus the squids. Which is a little bit strange because before the weapon upgrade system came out, I would have much rather had this versus the squids in particular than like the regular breaker, but not so much now. Since, like, the main problem with this one is the ammo. You don't get a whole lot of ammo, and that is what they nerfed. So this one does 240 damage a shot, does have Incendiary, and does have Light Armor Pen on it. That does make it pretty good for fighting the bugs, because there is going to be a lot of bugs, there's going to be a lot of small and medium bugs, and if you spray this just into the crowd, you're going to kill a lot of them just thanks to the fire. That's still where this one's the best. It's also pretty decent against, like, the voteless hordes. It's okay against the flesh mobs. I actually like the Spray and Pray, the regular one, over this for fighting like flesh mobs, and I find that it doesn't work very well against like the overseers. It's okay on bot missions. This one is not really the greatest. It's okay at killing medium things, it's good at killing small stuff, but so are all the other shotguns, and it doesn't do anything to the big guys. And then for customizations, once again for sights, iron sights are probably going to be the best for this. Yeah, you're probably not going to be like ADSing with it, so whatever sights you like the most. For the underbarrel, I do like just having no underbarrel on this. For a muzzle, this one I like no muzzle on because the choke and the half choke I just don't think is really necessary. I kind of want more spread with this. I've tried other friends breaker incendiaries with the duckbill on it, and it's still okay for bug missions. It feels pretty awkward on the other mission types, but it's okay on them, so if you like that, then go for it. And then for magazine, I think this one's really your choice. I like the drum mag on it, since I'm most likely just going to be dumping this entirely into a crowd and then swapping to my secondary to actually pick off things when they get close. I'm mostly going to be kind of pairing it with that. That's also why I'm not really going to be rating any of these weapons as like D tier or below, because there is so many options you can take in Helldivers that really taking like a secondary or throwables or especially special weapons, you can kind of make up for anything's weaknesses. So like, I don't think anything here deserves to be like lower than C tier, even when they're maybe not the best. Like I don't really like the shotguns against the bots overall, unless it's like the Slugger or the Halt. Then those ones are pretty good. And this is where I'd put all the shotguns in Helldivers. This is all completely my opinion though. If you guys feel differently, feel free to tell me down in the comments below. I hope that you do. And be sure to use whatever shotgun you really like the most. We're going to be doing this with every weapon category, having their own separate ones, and I'll probably make like a super cut of this at one point, with the exception of probably the special weapons and the explosive weapons, because we only have like 5 in total between them. But we will be getting like energy weapons, assault rifles, things like that. Tell me your experiences with the shotguns though. Which one is your favorite? Thank you guys so very much for watching this. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.